topics, but Solace this time, just to show you, because some of you have asked the question how to connect to Solace on integration suite. Nicky showed one approach that's possible. We wanted to show another approach, which is an adapter specifically for Solace. Right, so that's the topic of my integration. I will go faster in. I will introduce one or two, three things, and then I will talk about adapter. I'll do a small demo, and we'll have a question. And this will tie into another presentation about observability, where Swati will show us different aspects of the observability that we've been talking about. First of all, I thought just to show this, some of you have seen it before, but we believe with what we're doing in integration is our daily activity. We believe that these are aspects that a typical integration platform need to, or integration competence center need to cover. Because if you cover this, then you've captured pretty much modern problems that you face or patterns that you face that you need to cover. Without going into the details, you need to have, it's no longer just technical people anymore, citizen integrators need to be able to do something. So, because there's not enough people today with the knowledge of integration, it's a different type of application, different deployment model, I think something went wrong here, endpoints, and data mode. But in the end, event-based comes with data mode there, right? So that's what we've been talking about today. And on that note, we, working with ACP together, we have a lot of collaboration, we have a lot of adapters that we are bringing in. You know some adapters you're already using, like Salesforce here. Some people in the crowd use it. But we just want to let you know that there are many more adapters which exist, including Snowflake, for instance, that we were just speaking about today. There's a lot, but I want to focus on Solace, an adapter. And how do we get this adapter? Customers like yourself ask for it. Say, we need connectivity to this, and we add it in our roadmap after some discussion. Okay? Now, we have two parts. There is a sender adapter that you use, which means that you can subscribe to events from Solace, and then you can use the integration suite to do whatever other things you want to do on the other side, right? That's no news, it's just this part that we're talking about. So, there is a lot of things that are covered. Just quickly, the presentation is not showing the full screen somehow, but anyhow, you can connect to a broker. There's security artifacts, so you can see them when I connect here. I can use my credential, and these credentials are not typed there. You can save it in a data store, in a security credential, and with some details, it will automatically retrieve some attributes and headers for you as well. What does it mean? Sometimes when people write messages to Kafka, they don't just write the message, they put some header details. They can put the order number in the header as well, which is not in the message itself, but the header. You will get it automatically. But you can consume to queues and partition queue. Given the time, maybe I should just show the screen right away. Okay, thank you. All right. I think I have to speak louder, I guess that's the message. So let me just go here, I'll show you from this point on. Think you, oh, you don't see it? Something happened? It's not presenting anymore, Max. Okay. I think I'm facing don't know what I did. Should I unplug and plug again?
Yeah, let's give that a try, maybe. Wait for 2 seconds until it.
One moment. Okay, while you're trying to do this, I just want to mention then I'll carry on. So on the sender side, yeah, I'll finish the presentation like this. Okay, this is much better. So I'm just going to show you the screen. I'm going to pick an example here, which is Solace to consumer. And here you have the Solace adapter on the sender side. I'm going to edit it. So here you have some connectivity details that you have to get from your broker. You put the host, you put the port, you put the security credential that you have to put elsewhere so it's secure. The VPN, these are technical terms for Solace, and some polling interval. It does not mean that it polls. It's not that. It's subscribed, so it's get it real time. But the polling is there to check the connectivity. It does check it, if it's still alive, right? And here you can decide whether you want to connect to a queue or a topic. I stick to a queue here, and here I'm mentioning to you the queue name, and I can use partition topic or not. Let's not get into this technicality, but it is possible. And the post-processing. So automatically, when a message is picked in a queue, it gets deleted, but you can decide, I don't want it to be deleted. I want to keep a message as well. There is even a post-processing where you can say, basically, I have an older version here where you can say, if the iFlow fails, then don't take a message away from the queue. Keep it there, if you know what I mean. So you only take it out when it finishes. But that means that the processing will be slow, obviously, if you know what I mean. And here, duplicate check, you can do that because it will check the message ID of this, that it does not pick it twice, even if you have a lot of nodes in your CLI, right? That's a little bit the idea. Very simple, but it does the job. And on the other side, I will show you also the receiver. Save.
John,
Yes, please.
can you show us the option with the topic, just to receive?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
No problem. Just because of time, I was gonna rush quickly. Actually, the concepts are the same, right? It's a bit less, but it's just a topic because this is a subscriber. So there's not much actually to do. You put the topic name and that's it, you're ready to go. Everything else is done in the background.
And you cannot address an premise broker through the cloud connector.
Oh, you can go to, you mean if you have I'm not sure.
You have Solace deployed on premise.
Aha, no, this is mostly for cloud. Actually, to be honest, I don't see a lot of those cases today. And at least the requirements we got so far, no, all accessible from online. Yeah. But it's something else we can discuss, but we have not received such a requirement today, for Solace specifically. But when this is enabled in Edge Cell, you will be from there, as long as network-wise you can connect to the cloud, you will be able to do that. Okay. So maybe the next one is push an event. Here I have a receiver adapter the same way. If I'll go in there, I will show you the connectivity remained the same as before. Whereas if I will go to here in the processing, I can also choose, right, when I want to write to a queue, a topic. In a queue, I mentioned this, partition, the mode of delivery. It tells you if I have to deliver directly or sometime I can hold it. It's even possible. The priority, because this means, there's a whole concept about priority in Solace. Class of delivery. I can even say that it's XML or as an image. And here, interesting, you can see what I'm doing here. So because in this message, I have a transaction ID coming back to the topic of end-to-end monitoring. I have a transaction ID which comes from my SAP that I want to pass through, even through the queue, so that the subscriber will get the transaction ID. That's what I'm doing here, basically. I'm passing property data to it so that it flows to the next subscriber as well, just to give you an idea of the type of things I can do. Given the time, I want to keep it short, but that's the concept, actually. I could just, in the same way, I have a Postman collection here that I'm simply sending something simple like this. Transaction ID and number, just to keep it simple. If I will call it here, it will go, it's this one, so it's gonna write it to Solace. And I have another message which will pick it up, so therefore it will have those correlation IDs that I showed you. So if I go, I have to refresh this, you can see, yeah, you see a minute ago, this is the message here which was pushed by the consumer. I did not put it on trace, but if I put on trace, you will see those properties happening. And this is the second flow, by the way. It went through the first flow already, right? Just to tell you how fast it is. If I will go, you know, the test we've done, we managed to consume, on top of my head, 400K messages with, it was 12 nodes per second. It's extremely fast, but we use a very plain execution. What I mean plain execution, because in my consumer, if I'm doing a lot of things in my consumer and I say don't release the message from the queue, of course I'm gonna be locking everything else, because queue is first in, first out, right? So you need to take it out quickly in order for the rest to be pulled in. You can increase the concurrencies by having a lot of nodes. In fact, in a sender adapter, and then Swati will jump in here. In a sender adapter, we have a feature, just to show you. We can even, here. So if you use the notion of partition queue, which is there really to increase the parallelism, and that's what I use for it, to increase a huge number. What you can see, if I check partition queue, it's telling me the number of consumer that you. So I can say I want to initiate 10 parallel threads to pick the messages. In that way, you are really scaling. But when you do that, you need to know that you have enough resources as well to do it on your side, right? I hope it gives you a bit of a concept. Some questions before going to the. I think it's as straightforward. Yeah?
John, is this adapter already available?
It is already available. You can get it today. It's already there. The same thing as the others I showed, snowflakes, all of that is already available. In case you're interested, please reach out. We can talk about it and go details for a trial or whatever other you want to try. Swati, you want to jump in?
Which Solace protocol is behind? Is it a REST or other?
No. So this is really a Solace client. It means that you can expect that everything which is supported in Solace is supported here. Actually, pretty much automatically.
It's SMF protocol.
Yes, it goes toward the SMF, yeah. So which is a broader perspective. So this partition queue, good flight, thanks. This partition queue is a very new concept, for instance. It only came out, I believe, I don't know, a month or 2 months back, but it is already available as a result of it. Oh. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. This is the last session of the day. My name is Swati. I'm heading the product development department at Rojo Consultancy, and therefore responsible for our product offerings in the area of SAP and observability. Today, I will show you some sneak preview in the observability solutions that we have. Throughout these presentations, you have seen some slides here and there where our customers like JDE and Siemens are making use of our observability products to monitor their applications. And now I will show you these in a little bit more depth and talk a little bit more about why we actually need them and how you can start your own observability journey if and only if, even if you only have access to the integration platform data, and why it is such a good idea to actually start from there. If you have any questions in between, it's okay to just interrupt me and ask, and then we can go from there. Thank you. Let's begin. So, well, there's always this question that I get that says, okay, I do have integration platforms, and all of those integration platforms come with a very nice possibility to monitor them. Be it PO, we have the monitoring area of PO, can look in depth in the messages. With CPI, we also have that. So does 20 other integration platforms or API management platforms or event-based architecture platforms that you would have. They all come with this capability enabled. Well, then why do we actually need another application to explicitly do this, right? So I'm going to try and answer that question for you. Let's look at it from integration platform perspective. What do they do good? So they're good for moving data between systems, well, as the name suggests. We orchestrate processes, do mappings, transformations, and connect any to any system. They're really good at that. That's why they are built, sole purpose. What they can do okay? Well, monitor message traffic. So if one message fails somewhere, you would be able to monitor it, debug, and look at logs and traces. But keep in mind, that's very limited to that specific application with certain roles that the user need to be able to do that, right? We all, when we work in integration, we work in the background. So we are the guys or girls who get called when something gets broken. We never called to give this nice certificate of appreciation when everything is working well. We are in the background, we are hidden. And then that's one of the motives that we have as an integration company to bring it forward. Because look, the work that we do is super critical, super important, is very business oriented. So let's make it visible. And that's why our observability solutions fit very well with the integration ones. And then let's see what an integration platform cannot do or should not do. That's very important, what it should not do. Long-term analytics on traffic. We often have a regulation or requirement on how long we keep the data. Well, observability platforms, they don't have that. You can keep it as long as you want or as long as you're ready to pay for it. Collecting data from multiple platforms. So if you're a PO person, you monitor it in PO. You're a CPI person, you monitor it in CPI. The API Connect guys do the monitoring in that system. What if you want to monitor in all of them? Well, that always reminds me of these images that I see of these computer IT personalities with 15 different screens. Well, that's why you need them, right? Because you cannot bring all of that together. That's why you need an observability platform, because there you pick and choose the data that you want, you plot your ideal processes, and then monitor it from one view. Providing one-stop shop for visibility of data in transit. So your orders flow through your system, invoices flow through them, shipments flow through them. But as an integration platform developer, I took an oath not to judge the data, not to look in the data. Well, maybe we should change that, right? Let's look in the data and see what value it's bringing. And visualizing and alerting over anomalies. It's nice and easy to know when something failed, when you know it happened in your system, So a message came in and failed, fine, you can monitor it. What if something should have happened but it did not happen? How, as an integration person, how do you find that? Because now you're not looking for an event that occurred in time, you're looking for a no event, And as an integration platform, if you look at that, there the whole problem lies, because we are not able to monitor for no events because we don't know what should happen or what should occur. And that's where the observability ones come in picture, because we look at the data, you can make patterns, the system knows what should happen, and therefore you can decide when something was supposed to happen but it did not happen. So all of that points put your observability solution next to your integration platforms. And every time somebody tells you, well, why do I need it? I can monitor it in my own system. Well, there are valid arguments for it. Keeping that in mind, we as an integration company started looking in the observability area around 5 years ago from now, and chose Splunk as one of the platforms with which we would provide observability solutions. And with that, we had the idea of bringing these different integration platforms and API management platforms, bringing their data together on Splunk to be able to do not only technical monitoring, but also business monitoring on it. To enable that, we have these various products of ours. For example, the SAP Cloud Integration Monitoring Suite, the Process Orchestration Monitoring Suite, and so on. Similar to that, we also have solutions for Solace, we have for LPG, Boomi, Salesforce. And with Salesforce, we are actually now also looking to connect to other applications, with various other solutions. So that's the first one to come, but there are many more in planning. We spoke a lot about EDA today during different presentations. One of the challenges that EDA brings is how do you do the monitoring? Because now the concept is super powerful that you're now decoupling these systems, who's producing the events and who needs to consume that event completely. But it is a nightmare then to follow it across, right? So tomorrow if someone comes and says, well, I did not get that order. Yeah, one system would say we did publish it, some others got it, there's a big hole in between, what do we do, where do we look? And therefore it's very important when you do set up your EDA setup in your organization to keep in mind the observability on how you're going to tie it all together. There are multiple solutions for it. One of them I'm going to show you today in the demo. Trust me, this is the last slide that I show you in the presentation. Rest everything I will show you in system. And it's based on the scenario that John ran with two iFlows which were totally disconnected from each other. We put them together. But along with that, we also have different solutions, for example, distributed tracing. So specifically for Solace, you can enable distributed tracing, which comes with OpenTelemetry format out of the box. And you have tools, for example, like Observability Suite from Splunk, which you can use to monitor it by default. Keep in mind these are technical logs that you would monitor, but still you would be able to put together a publisher and multiple consumers who consume that flow. So look here, for example, in this specific scenario, the first topic is the one which is doing the publish, and then there are multiple consumers for it. So yeah, the problem can be solved by different approaches, different solutions. What fits your requirement would determine how you go forward with it. Okay. Let me quickly take you to our escape. Yes. This type of screen you have seen multiple times during our presentations. It's our default screen of end-to-end monitoring overview, which you get out of the box based on when we do end-to-end monitoring implementations for you. There's a possibility of always to change it, modify it, add more things to it on top of it based on your own requirement. But let me explain a little bit over it. Yes. Here, in this end-to-end monitoring overview, the idea of creating this first dashboard was to give the visibility and power of monitoring in the hands of business. So you become a bit hands-off as IT operations person, and you don't have to worry about things. Therefore, a lot of these drop-downs that you would see are very specific to different business areas where people can go and look for their own specific domain. Here, you would have the number of transactions that ran based on the time frame. You can select and go back wherever in time you want to. If you want to look for something that ran last Friday between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m., be my guest, it would support that as well. Accordingly, you can, if you're responsible, you're a global organization like JDE, where you're running operations in 144 countries, you're only responsible for your own. Go ahead and filter it based on country. Same for processes, sub-processes. Accordingly, you can filter it. Also save your preferences. So every time you come back, it would load that specific preference for you as an application. It would give you, based on your selected filters, different number of successful failed transactions and the transactions which are actually in progress, which are running at this moment. Because a transaction would have or can have multiple individual messages which we tie together using specific IDs. And it can happen that the first message came in or second came in, but the last one did not. So all those ones go in progress. Now, some additional insights for you to see, for example, for which process we have the most amount of information, how is it divided across processes, things which are running, some trends, based on different processes and sub-processes, how it's going in your system. And if you're a global organization, then looking at a map to be able to see where your problems are occurring, or which interfaces or which transactions are resulting in error for which specific country. All of this is clickable. You can click, drill down, filter on it, and save your preferences accordingly. For me, it's always nice when I see something red, it just to click on it to find out more, right? So let's click. And what does it do? It takes you to an in-depth transaction analysis dashboard where, based on your preferences, everything also navigates here. But not only that, all your tables, for example, here would filter according to the status that you selected. So for this specific one, let's look at one of them. Here I have a stock scenario. I click on it. I need to know what happened here. So it actually puts together all these stages involved in this specific transaction and the stage which actually explicitly failed. I click here and then I see more details, and I click further and I see the message. So looking at this, you can really drill down from one step into the another and all the way to the logs of the errors which are generated in the background. So with ingestion of data from different applications, not only business but technical, this dashboard takes you from finding an order or a transaction ID all the way to, if it failed, where. Now let me run one thing for you. So you saw this Postman project from John, and he ran it for specific transaction ID. Let me change this ID for you so I can run it again. It's a random ID that I generated, and a random product number. Let's just run it. Now, this data is sent. So what this scenario does is it would push the data to the first iFlow that you saw, which was pushing the data towards Solace. And then in the background, the second iFlow should subscribe to it and take it forward. Now, those two iFlows are totally unrelated. They are individual iFlows in CPI. Let's see by a transaction how we tie it all together. Now, I am just going to refresh it to be sure and take this customer number for my own reference. A lot of times when we do have situations like that, business people come with their own number, so an order number or a customer number. They don't necessarily work in the transaction ID or execution ID or message ID that we ask them all the time to bring, right? So here this person comes and they are interested in this customer, and the moment of truth looks like it did not run yet. So let me refresh it. To see in the background, I ran this so many times, but you know how it is with demos.
If you have something else in it, to clear it.
Oh yeah, I have the filter probably set to error, huh? Yes, that's the reason. Yeah. So let me pick the customer number again. Yes. With that, I was easily able to find the transaction ID. Just have to be careful that you have your filters in order. When you click on it, you see the messages that actually came in regarding these transactions. And here you would see also these were related to customer master, and you would see when you go further, these are the events that resulted in this specific transaction. Here you would even have the interface names, you see. So this one is Solace Q consumer, and the second one is the push event to Solace. So the first interface was pushing the event, and the second one was consuming it. In the one view, you see both of them. So this is just one example of how you can tie unrelated integration flows together. To extrapolate on it, it can come from any system. The framework is set up in this way that your backend can send this information, your Salesforce system can send this information. Any system in the chain, whichever is part of it, can send this information towards you. We have multiple customers of ours where we did it, for example, for Boomi, PO, cloud integration, all pushing to this, including the API management systems. So it's totally up to you. The framework and the platform supports it. You keep onboarding as many systems as you want. When you start with the middleware, you already have all of this data as part of your middleware application. To make it complete end-to-end monitoring, you also onboard your source and target systems, and then you have 100% full visibility. But if you want to do more with less, so with small amount of data, find out a lot of different things, well, start with your middleware. That's where you would get the most value in your first attempt already.
If I may add, maybe one interesting thing we're seeing with customers is that this is good, but if you're using Solace, you can make Splunk subscribe to your Solace.
Also, yeah.
Then you're getting all the event right away out. You see a little bit that changes the dynamic, and it's pretty cool because it's just one other party who is interested in the same event. Right?
Yeah. And when you make your scenarios applicable, for example, for Solace, so the feature that John talked about where you promote some of your payload fields towards headers in Solace, that would come very handy, because then in that case, what happens if you subscribe to a queue and it has these headers, it kind of plugs in automatically also in your end-to-end monitoring as long as it has the relevant information in place. Okay, so that's my end-to-end monitoring demo, but now, look, this is at the business view, but now to make this possible, there is the business layer information that you get based on the order number and additional things, but that does you, to really deep dive into what went wrong, you also need the technical logs and more information, master data information around these systems. For these ones, for that I would show you very quickly our cloud integration app. This is one of the apps that would also, so if you have cloud integration, would also support your end-to-end monitoring in the background. So this is, now we're moving towards a bit more technical monitoring here. This is for cloud integration. And here with this specific app, what you can do is you can onboard data from multiple cloud integration applications of yours into one view. So normally if you have to monitor dev, test, and production, you need to view in 3 different screens and look at data from that angle. Also, if you want your business to be able to monitor one specific iFlow in production, so if you're more in the hands-off type of setup, then you would have to invite your business into your cloud integration. You need to manage all the accesses and everything. With this type of offloading, it makes it very easy. Your business comes to this specific dashboard, or any specific person, whosoever wants to monitor, comes here, and then they can go ahead and monitor it. You can, of course, yes?
How do you manage the access to the data that are maybe from the backends?
Yeah, so
if someone is accessing and doesn't have ERP roles to see this data,
yeah.
is still able to see the payloads or not? Let's say no.
Yeah, so when we actually do this setup, at that point in time, we set the access restrictions as well, depending on how you want to, what level of granularity you want to expose to the outside world. Yeah. So there can be a situation where you're okay with searching only with the order ID, but you don't want to drill down into the entire order information, right? So we do in Splunk have these possibilities to mask the data accordingly and limit the accesses of people to certain data set only. So with that functionality, you would be able to really closely keep an eye on who is allowed to see what. And then you don't open the system to everybody.
Plus, some customers only put the header data here.
Yeah.
But if you want to get the full, you still redirect it to the relevant system.
Exactly. That's also a possibility. With the cloud integration app and going forward with other apps, we are also onboarding the possibility to offload your payloads to AWS buckets or to Azure. And then what we do from here, you look at the metadata of the message. And if you want to look at the payload, then you have a link where you click and you get redirected to either of these platforms. In future, we will add more as well. But to start with, that's where we are going. So a lot of our customers also onboard payloads, offload payloads towards AWS bucket. And then if a person does not have access there, then the redirection, of course, would give you an error that you're not authorized to see it. So that's also one of the possibilities. So there's multiple ways to answer that. Here in this specific app, what makes it different from others is you're not only looking at your runtime information, but you're also looking at your design time information, your landscape, how it looks like. So let me quickly show that to you. So things like landscape discovery overview, where you would see from your cloud integration system itself, what type of connections are you making. If you're connecting to Salesforce and to ServiceNow, all of this information would be there for you. You have the possibility to chart your entire landscape, but also to drill down and chart the most used applications. And going forward, we are also bringing a feature where if any of these connectivities go wrong, then from this view itself, you would be able to see that. Okay, going towards the message process monitoring overview to show you. This is the overview of what's happening in your system at this moment, how messages are running, and if you want to look more, what type of errors are happening. Based on any of these statuses, you could filter, go in particular more details. You could also, in situations, for example, for this one, you could navigate towards your tenant. So from here itself, if you want to do more investigation, you have the possibility to go to the tenant itself and see in more detail what went wrong, where. In case there is a payload, you have the possibility to look also at the payload. That would be loaded here in case it was logged here. If it was offboarded, then you would have link which would be redirected to the offboarding location for the specific payload. Some additional information. So for example, how your interfaces are doing, the load on them, and then what is your trace level at this moment? Because say, for example, you're connected to a productive environment, somebody switched on, somebody put it in debug mode, some iFlows and left it. Yeah, it's nice to just see it right away in one view. And the possibility of looking at the duration a specific iFlow is taking. So this would help you weed out any performance bottlenecks from that sense, where you see if you have long running iFlows, you can identify them quickly. Along with that, some trends for you to be able to see how your system load is happening. So if you run it for 24 hours or 7 days, you can easily identify peaks and what went wrong when, or when were the time that you had most amount of errors or so. So all of that is possible here.
So just a question, so I can see below here that this is scheduled, it's running every 5 minutes.
Exactly.
For instance, and this is in turn used for
the next set of scheduling that you might want to do. So if you have a new batch job that you want to plan, maybe don't plan all of them at 12 in the night, just spread it out accordingly when your system is the least busy. But then how do you know when the system is least busy? Well, this is how. So quickly looking at the graphs, you can derive all of this information. You can also go ahead and do specific troubleshooting on certain scenarios where you explicitly look at the errors. But also not only that, across errors, you can also find out if there is a specific error message with which an error was launched. So if you want to find all these scenarios that failed with 404 not found, search here with 404, it would filter all the messages for you. So you no longer look only, because use cases like that, if you need to go look one by one in each trace. That's no longer the case. With simple searches, you would be able to find correlations like that. Again, from every view, you can navigate to the tenant and see that specific iFlow. But this is very runtime oriented. I will quickly show you one security one as well. So for example, key store monitoring, which is normally a pain to identify which certificates are going to expire anytime soon. I mean, if you do the operations, that's one of the nightmares, that you wake up with middle of the night when your certificate expired and you forgot to update it. All your communications stop at that point in time. And with dashboards like this, you would be able to get that overview ahead of time. You could see, okay, in the next 30 days what's going to happen in my environment, and based on that you can plan accordingly. Everything which is expired you would see in red, the ones which are applicable are green. You can filter, sort on statuses. All of that is possible. But not only that, there's also one risk that happens quite often is with user credentials. When you have system, a lot of people start making credentials in it, and if something changes, you want to know what would be the impact if this specific credential got deleted, right? One way is to go look in all the iFlows, all the connections that you have one by one. The other would be to just come here and click on one, and then it shows you where it is used. Apparently this one, nowhere. That's also good to know, that somebody created it but did not use it, you know. So information like this is quite handy for us to be able to identify in cases where something is changing or a password is changing, what would be the impact on your landscape? Or if somebody deletes it, what would be the impact on it, you know? So for example, this one, we know it's used in this specific integration flow, which exists in this specific package, because also that's a pain to find out the flows where they belong and to search them easily, right? So all of that with this complex where used is quite helpful. I'll show you one more case of where used in the connections. What happens also a lot of times is you have process directs where you expose one iFlow through a process direct and multiple iFlows across call it, right? Now the same story applies. You don't know who's calling whom at this moment, right? In this situation, you come here, you write process direct. So I pick what type of adapter it is, and it should load all the iFlows which have a process direct connection for me. And here, let's look at this one. I will just copy this specific endpoint, put it in address, and then it shows me who's the sender here and who all are the receivers. So this one was one-on-one, but if you would have multiple receivers for this specific process direct, you would also see it here. So it makes it very easy for you to also know exactly in which specific iFlows this specific endpoint is used. Again, a lot of times things change and you need to figure out what would be the impact analysis for it. This makes it super easy. So yeah, these are some of the things. We are also working on points of attention. So with every integration landscape that you have, there should be things which should not happen, and people need to pay attention to it. So for example, this dashboard gives you that information. Things like, okay, which iFlows, which integration flows have been created but not deployed, or which are in the draft version, because normally you need to put them in a specific version, so it gives you that insight. Also for security, what's happening. If you click on them, you get, for example, more details about them, which ones are those and how it is. So it's a point of attention dashboard. The idea is to add more things in it. Going forward, we are also bringing the feature where you can specify your naming conventions, etc. And when iFlows don't match it, you also get it here as a point of attention, so you know, okay, there's something wrong. Similarly, development overview, okay, who's working on what. There's a plethora of dashboards here behind the scenes, which can help you in every aspect of managing and monitoring your cloud integration better. One quick sneak preview into what we are planning to release in this quarter. So with all our products, we do quarterly upgrades based also on the features that we think are important, but listening to our customers who are using these products also. So based on that, we are also now planning to release with this quarter a few machine learning AI related dashboards, which would help you do anomaly detection. This, for example, is one of them where we can filter on iFlows in your environment. In this case, I've filtered on this one specifically, as the name suggested. This one for me is scheduled, runs every 5 minutes. And what the system does, it looks at the data for this specific interface, and it's trained on that. And it makes a prediction for it to say when it's supposed to run. And here we would see every 5 minutes, this specific interface should run based on the previous history of this interface. On this graph specifically, this is the occurrence that tells you if it actually happened. And here you would see there's a gap in between here. This is future, so of course these have not happened, but here there's a miss. It was supposed to happen, this run was supposed to happen, but it didn't. Now I can go in more details to figure out what went wrong. So for example, here you would also see the possibility of when the last event came in and when the next one is scheduled for. So the last one came at 4:30, and the next one is scheduled for 4:35. When that happens, the dashboard changes accordingly also. And for the outliers, you would also see anomalies on situations when this actually happened. So for example, the one that was missed up here, you would say it's this one. It was at 1:15, it should have happened. It was predicted to happen, but it did not, so it's an anomaly. You can filter accordingly also to find out specifically all your anomalies on the table. So it just gives you a bit of an idea. If you have an interface in mind, you want to know what pattern it is that it's running, then you can easily see it and figure this out. You can, on the anomalies, you can do alerting. So it alerts you when something that you wanted to happen did not happen. Of course, here, this schedule we created, so you can argue, oh, but I created it in CPI, so I know the scheduler. Well, a lot of times when we expose APIs, we are not the ones, we just expose it and we leave it like that. But the calling systems, there, a lot of times there's also patterns on when something is happening, It could be a bad job on the sender side. Those specific situations you would also be able to catch because this is more based on the data which is generated in the system. So you don't have to necessarily correlate it with your knowledge of when something is scheduled.
We try to make it more fun. A non-event is an event in its own right, so you could publish it as well.
Yeah.
And then we put the party through.
Yeah, so in short, this is it. I'm just looking at the time. This is a sneak preview of what is coming. This would be also rolled out in all the other integration-related applications that we have, also for API management applications. So going forward, quarterly, we would always have something new, something like this coming as well.
But do you mean that this dashboard, so that once we have the license, we get it?
Yes, by default. For PO, it's not planned for this quarter. This would come in this quarter for cloud integration. And for PO, I think it would be Q1 of next year. Yeah. But every new feature that we bring in to all of our customers. You're entitled to it if you're using the applications that we are bringing. If you have say, you for sure have say into our features that we build. So if you feel like, okay, I would rather have this or that, or please prioritize this, bring it to us. If we get enough requests from more parties, or if we think the feature really, really makes sense to be put in the application, we would incorporate it by default, so you don't have to build it yourself. Yeah, that's in short about my presentation. We also have apps, for example, for Kafka, but looking at the shortage of time, I think it would be a bit difficult. If you want to know more about it, then just reach out, and then we can plan a specific session accordingly.
And the Solace one as well.
Also for Solace, that's the same thing. So let us know. Yeah, thank you so much.
So yes, I think there were different presentations. I think you will announce that we could go upstairs, but it's also to mingle. I think the setup that we started last year, is not necessarily a commercial one. It's also just to mingle, right, to chat, exchange, look, customer A, what we do, maybe we learn from each other in this, and I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new here to discuss. And there's also an open door to keep the discussion going, right? So, name of the team here in Barcelona, thank you for inviting us as well to host the session here for us, and I hope, suggest us ideas for next time as well, and it's a community as well that we're doing. So since we don't have market in Barcelona. You know, it's not the same, but this is us just to keep talking about topics. Maybe any general questions you have before? No?
If not, I'm closing it. No. Yeah, thank you all. I would like to invite you one more time to go to the rooftop. This time we have some drinks, some Heineken's and some wine. So run up, I would say, and then we can mingle further. Thank you all for coming, and hope we can do it again next year.
Yeah.
Thank you.